Hi, I'm Dave Koch. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do something a little different and hopefully a whole lot of fun. Well, it's work. If you consider work fun, you may consider this fun. Anyway, I've been lucky enough to do a lot of Matterport scans of resorts and high-end hotels. I live in Salt Lake City, and Park City, which is a resort town, is just up the street from me. They're always looking for new and different things to make their properties stand out. So I get calls a lot to go up there and scan major high-end resorts. And it's a lot of fun. Usually it takes 2, 3, sometimes even a whole week. And you know, one of the bonuses is a lot of the times I get to stay there while I'm doing it, which is a giant plus. But the other thing I found that's really cool is that these resorts are built to such a standard that they're just beautiful. All your center lines are perfect. All the chandeliers line up with the center of the carpet. You know, it comes together and it scans beautifully. And for me, some of the most important things in making a good Matterport scan are symmetry and lines of center and following those lines of center. If you've got a Matterport where the walk path through a room is like a drunken sailor, it's not going to work too well. So when I've got a property with properly laid out sight lines, where I've got a definitive path straight forward that I can follow and keep my walking path directly in line with what I want, it just makes it easier for me, and I think it makes the final scan that much better. To me, doing a resort or a luxury property is completely different than doing a regular MLS listing. There's a lot of things that you have to do that you don't have to do in an MLS property. Well, I think ultimately the thing you need to do as a photographer with Matterports like this or any other photography is think about the end use and shoot for the end use. Don't have a formula. Don't be I'm going to be in all four corners of the room and shoot as wide as I can and get that. When you walk into a room and you see something new or different, that's what you need to focus on. That's what makes that property new, unique, and different. And that's what should guide your photography in that room. And for me, nothing says this more than luxury resorts. Typically in a home, you're going to Matterport, just go into the center of the room, take scan, move on, center of the room, scan, move on. That's not how we show off resorts. Resorts are all about the amenities. It's all about the little things that make that place special. So for me, yeah, I'm going to get those walking paths and connect the rooms properly and all that. But that's where I start. From there, I go in and I find the things that are going to stand out and make that property special, unique, different, or better for the clients. And that means doing a lot of extra scans. Another thing I'm very concerned of, and maybe this is because I was brought up with the Matterport Pro 2, is, you know, I don't want to go too far between scans. I like to keep my scans very close together. One reason is I want to get the layout of the room proper in the Matterport scan. But there's another reason, and that is the closer the scans are, the less jerky the final tour is going to be, the more smooth the movement between different points. And to me, that's very important. So I know a lot of people, especially the people that you know, are doing quick and dirty homes, for lack of a better term, are going to say, oh, I'm over scanning. And yeah, I am. And I'm doing that intentionally. But I would also say that that's the reason that I'm doing so many luxury hotels, because I'm turning in not just a quality scan, but one that appeals to the users of these luxury resorts. So, as I said, with Matterport or with any photography, keep in mind the end use and how it's going to be used and what's going to tell that story the best. And that should be what guides you and your photography through every property. For this, I used the Matterport 3. It is pretty much my go-to camera now. There's a lot of jobs that I get because I have a Matterport 3, and they won't hire someone without a Matterport 3. Hotels, resorts are one of those for a variety of reasons. It is just far better than any other camera right now on the market and can do far more. Without trying to insult anyone, I will just tell you flat out, if you're shooting a Theta or an Insta360 or any of those cameras, you will not get jobs like this. If you're shooting a Pro 2, you will not get jobs like this. This is the realm of the Pro 3, and doing the high-end things, they will only talk to you if you've got a Pro 3. So I'm just going to throw that out. You know, it is the top of the line camera. I know recently I read some people talking in a forum about, is a Theta as good as a Matterport camera? And, you know, flat out, no, it's not. It is, in my opinion, the beginner camera. And, you know, just flat out, you don't have, you know, the LiDAR. It just, yeah, it doesn't work nearly as well as the Matterport branded cameras. And I am no fan of Matterport at all. I think they're a horrible company and they're horrible to work with. And I really detest having to use them. But that being said, they are kind of the only option right now for many people. You know, there's iGuide, and I do have an iGuide, and that works really well, and that is the perfect solution for some specific cases. And believe it or not, a Theta Z or an Insta360, I have both of those, and those are the perfect solution for certain scans. There's one scan I did for a very famous celebrity that I cannot name, I'm under NDA, but it had to be done on a Theta Z. I could not have done it with a Matterport, and that's how I got that job too. But when it comes to the luxury properties, you're going to need to go all out and have a Pro 3 or something like that. I'm sorry, there is nothing like that. You will need a Pro 3. That's it. End of story. Anyway, let's pick this up. I'm scanning in the ballrooms and trying to get my layout. This was kind of interesting in that my original shot sheet showed all the different meeting rooms that I needed to get. But ultimately, we decided, upon talking with the client, that they wanted to be able to guide the user through the hotel, which means picking up all the hallways leading up to the meeting rooms and then into all the meeting rooms. So I had to do a scan that included all those walkways and then ultimately the meeting rooms. And as you'll see in the course of the video, that changed the way I scanned in a number of rooms. Other than that, you know, it is straight Matterport scanning. You push the button, it goes beep, 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 and you come up with a thing. But it is a lot of fun. I will also tell you, they are long days. This specific hotel, I think, ended up being about 48,000 square feet that I scanned. Earlier in the week, I did another resort up in Camas, and that was almost 40,000. I've got another one coming up next week that's going to be well over 50 in downtown Salt Lake. So the hotel jobs, like I said, they take 2, 3, 4 days, sometimes a whole week, and they're long days. But you know, they are a lot of fun, and it's certainly different than scanning a home. Well, I have yacked on for way too long. I apologize. Let's get right into the video and show you how I go about shooting high-end resort hotel Matterport scans. Well, hey, good morning from the Grand Hyatt in Deer Valley. I am in the lower lobby areas. I'm doing a series of Matterport scans. I'm looking for when I'm looking at rooms like this is first the path of travel, which is that straight line right there. Then I'm also looking for symmetry and lines of center. So lines like that. So I actually started there because I thought I was just doing the rooms, but they want this whole hallway. So I came out of there and I came up that line of center till I found this line of center and I went down that. Once I got to here, my new line of center was right there. So I set up and I did a scan there to go to that. And then I had these areas that were a little off center, but they're areas of interest. So I went ahead and got those. If walking this hallway was all that was important, that would be good enough. But because this is to show guests how to get there, we're going to continue over here and get these elevators and then this whole area here. So as you can see from this, I've got good center. I'm just entering the doorway there, and I'm just going to move this a little bit forward. I like to get both sides of a door, especially when it's a thick door like that. So that's good enough. And let's go ahead and scan that. So there it goes. All right. And then just move forward again. And I'm going to go center on this right there because I think that's a point of interest with that picture and all that. So we'll just go point of center there. All right, so I've got my path through the initial hallway done, and I've got my path to the meeting rooms done. Now I need to fill this area out and then fill this area out. So I come back in here and I analyze it. I've got my walk down the center there. So I'm probably going to want to walk down the center this way. And that should give me a good view to this side. I might step over here just to get one scan. But I think what I'll do is I'll just come down that center and then do one more walk off here to this elevator and one more walk off here to this elevator. And that should pretty much do everything I need in this room. One really important thing to do is look at the flooring. Between the flooring and the ceiling, you can generally find the center. So I look at that and I find this beam right here is the center. So I set up with my camera centered along that, and then I'll have a centered shot when I shoot this. There we go. I think that does a pretty good job in there. And I think we're doing pretty good. So you might be looking at that and going, you know what, Dave, you're kind of overscanning. And yeah, I am. But I want you to keep in mind, this is a luxury property, and nobody ever got in trouble for overscanning. You get in trouble for having jerky, bad-looking scans. If you scan a lot like this, you're going to get a lot smoother scans, and the movement between each scan is going to be a lot more even and fluid. And that's really what I'm looking for here. It's not about getting out of here in 20 minutes or anything like that. It's about doing it the right way the first time. This job is, I think, 48,000 square feet. I'm going to do it over the next 3 days. So yeah, I'm not in any hurry. I'm just going to do this right and make it look really, really good. All right, now we're looking at this room. We've already got the central walk in here and the central walk down that way. How am I going to attack this room? Well, I'm going to continue down the center walk this way, and then gonna definitely get one here. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to step in and go centered here and then centered here and then probably is centered right here and right here to bring us into these spaces. Then I'll finish out with that corner, dead center here, 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 there, and there. And that'll wrap up this room. What about a place like this? Do you shoot it? Yeah, you step in at least to right here so you can see it. But I'm going to do a second one right in here because you know what? You want to show everything. All right, so here we go. We've got this room done, and I think we've covered it pretty well. We can see everything we need to see. We've got, views around all the couches. We've got walking through, walking in, walking out into this area. You may say, well, what about that area? Well, that's this. It's a pre-function. It's not really something that I think needs to be in the scan. When I'm doing this, what I'm thinking is, what are people going to want to see and what's important? And that's what I show. The pre-function area isn't really important, and I don't think really needs to be or they want shown, so I'm not going to show that. But things like the seating area and those are areas of interest, the elevators, and I want to show that. Then you get into a room like this. There's nothing to show here. So what do I do? Here it's all about, actually everywhere, it's all about doing straight lines. You have to do straight lines. But in a place like this, really to show it off, I look up at the lights and I use the lights to kind of tell me where my center lines are and where my lines are in here. And then I try and draw something geometrical on the ground. Here's a 4,000 square foot ballroom I shot a couple days ago for another hotel. And you can see all I did was I made geometric patterns and it showed the whole layout. There was nothing in there to focus on. So, I just took my cues from the center lines and drew straight lines and made pretty patterns. And that's going to show off that room as good as possible. When you've got objects in the room that really you still need to do your straight lines, but then you break that up to show what's in the room. Here's that same ballroom with stuff in it. Here you can see I was able to still keep that same pattern because they had desks all set up. That was really easy to shoot, and that made it really easy to lay out too. But that's how I do it. I look for that symmetry, and honestly, I try and draw designs. All right, I'm going to do this room now. How am I going to set this one up? Well, I get the door, and that puts me in on this line, which is about in line with those lights. So I'm going to use those lights, and I'll probably use this valence. So where those lights and that valence meet, so right there, and then I'll go across to center and shoot that, and then over to this valence here. And then I'll do the same thing, dead center in the room right here. I'll go on the valence, dead center where that thing is, and then to the valence here. And then I'll echo it here with that set of lights, that light, and that light, which will line up with that door, and that'll be perfect. But wait, there's more. Then I'm going to come back here. I've done that line on that valence and that center line. I'm going to come back here and go down this line, dead center here. And I'm going to split the lights. So I'll put one right there and one right there. And then I'll come over here and do the same right about here and right about there. And that'll give me a nice design, and I'll have this room really well done. Okay, just in case I wasn't clear. See, it's right on that valence line. And then right on that light line. And that's where I'm going to shoot. So while I was shooting that, somebody walked by, and that's a bozo no-no. In hospitality, you can't have people in the shots. So what I did was I came over here and I just took a look at the shot. Made sure there was nobody in it. And there wasn't, so I can use that. And now I can move this on to the next. So we'll just move straight across here till I'm in line with the center. Right there, there's the center line. Need to come a little bit more this way. And there we go, that's done. Look at that, a beautiful pattern. Everything laid out perfectly. That's exactly what we want. I would also point out that anytime you have something like that guy walking by or anything that you question, look at it and double check it and make sure that it's right. And if it's not, redo it and keep redoing it until it is right. Customers at this level are paying thousands and thousands of dollars for these, and they have to be perfect. They're going to be online for 6, 8, 10 years and representing Hilton or Hyatt or, whomever the customer is. So you have to have a perfect scan. And if it isn't right, redo it. There we go. We had a problem. I was going up the hallway this way and it reversed and started sending us back down the hallway that way. That's not going to go. See, I was scanning here and it placed it in those doors there. So we're going to have to reschedule or reshoot and delete those scans. So I'm just putting the scans a little closer together and seeing if we can pick it up right. Should go after this. There we go. We got that one right. So we're heading that way. Okay, we're scanning again. Let's see how this does. So this should be the second doors to these. So it should be, oh, see, it went back to the first doors. So here's another thing we can do. Click on it and hit realign scan. And let's move it up here. First, we need to twist it around. And then it should line up right there. Let's see. Right about there. And then click OK. And then it should fall into place. There we go. Now it's right where I want it. It's a pretty common problem when you've got hallways that look exactly the same all the way down them. And it's just a series of doors that all look the same. So, yeah, sometimes you have to nudge it and make it work. Once it catches on, it generally works. So this one was right between these two doors, and you can see it fell right between those two doors. So it's working now. It's figured out where it's at. Now it just gets repetitive, room after room after room. And then I guess tomorrow we'll be starting guest rooms, and then the third day we'll be doing penthouses and suites. So it will keep you busy. It's a lot of fun, but it is the same thing. It's a grind. It's same thing over and over and over. And some of the ugliest carpet you've ever seen. Well, I'm just going to wrap this one up here. It's getting a little long, and I think this is a good cutting point before we go on to the next series of videos. Next series of videos will be bigger rooms and way bigger rooms. So we'll deal with that next. Thank you very much, and may your next shoot be your best shoot.